Welcome to our first video for the part one of this current series, where we're going to get into a few different things. At least in this part one, we're going to do some digital forensics in our next video. We're going to go over some encryption, some hashing, some mapping networks, some PKI concepts. We're going to have a lot of fun in this series, at least in part one, and then I'll get into part two in another video. But what we're going to do in this particular video, as far as our exercise, we're going to work with remote connectivity. We're going to work with remote desktop, and we're also going to administer Windows with PowerShell Remoting as well. So let's go ahead and get started with our first exercise. All right, so as I mentioned, what we're going to do is we're going to work with some remote connectivity, right? So first exercise is working with remote desktop, which is a built-in remote management tool in Windows, and this allows us to connect to another computer's desktop using the remote desktop protocol. So when connected to another computer, I'm just going to go through these to make sure everything is working properly. We can further investigate problems reported by users and making necessary remediation to fix any errors, especially for help desk, right? And by default, administrators can RDP a Windows device to take over the system control using the tool, right? So this means that any user signed on to the Windows will be disconnected from their current session should the administrator proceed to sign on via RDP, right? So what we're going to do first is create a remote desktop connection. So I'm actually going to, let's see, I'm going to connect Win 10 and 801 using the RDP tool. And I'm going to need to provide, let's see, a few things here. So let's start, we're going to start from Win 10. So let's search here. Let's do that here. All right, perfect. And let's actually show more options here. All right, so let's see from the computer. Let's do, actually, it's not going to be 0.3, it's going to be 0.5. And then we're going to do admin. Right. Perfect. And let's go make sure. Logo. Okay. It's actually, let's take a look here. Okay. This is good. Yeah, we're going to record from this one. All right, perfect. Now let's see. Okay, let's see there. Okay. Okay, this is good. Yes. All right. Not sure how long this is going to take, so I'll put you guys on the other side when it's fully connected. All right, so now we're fully connected, and as you can see here, we're remotely connected, as you can see with the menu here at the top. If I take down that window, you'll see that this is Win 10, and then you'll see the RD, the remote desktop connection here. All right, so let's actually open up the File Explorer here. All right, so we'll notice that different drives are accessible, right? So I'm actually going to hit close here, and I'm actually going to terminate the connection here. All right, perfect. So we're back on Win 10. So now I can move on to the next exercise, which is going to be administering Windows with PowerShell remoting. So Windows PowerShell, right, can remotely manage a Windows computer by enabling a feature called PowerShell. So PowerShell remoting, really. So this feature can be useful when using a GUI-based tool that's not viable due to low network bandwidth situations between two locations, right? So a service called Windows remote management, it makes a Windows device capable of being managed remotely. So we need to set the appropriate firewall rules on both sides of the network or host to make PowerShell remoting possible. Now, when connected went through or via PowerShell remoting, we can run commandlets and scripts as if we're running those commands interactively on the local computer. However, the Windows firewall exception for the Windows Remote Management Listener will fail if any of the network cards are configured to have a public type. So the firewall is going to it's going to refuse to create exceptions on the public network cards. So we must change the network card type to either private or domain. We're going to demonstrate all of these things. Alternatively, we can actually disable the public network connections for establishing PowerShell remoting. So what I'm about to do is configure and enable Windows PowerShell remoting between Win10 and Win801. And we're going to remotely access 801 from Win10 and transmit commands to 801. All right, so we're going to first disable the public network in Win10, right? So, so actually, let me actually close this out. I was going to do a few commands, but I'm actually going to switch it up here. So we're in Win10. Let's open this up here. All right, so we're going to disable, right? I'm going to disable this one as well. All right, perfect. So now we see nothing's there. So now I'm going to disable the public network in Win801. So I'm actually going to swivel over there. If it opens for me, right, and I'm pretty much going to follow the same concept, right? Ethernet 2, disable, right? Perfect. All right, so let's actually, never mind, do something else here. So let's actually close this out. So for my next task, I'm going to actually, as I mentioned before, I'm going to use PowerShell to manage the remote computers. So the PowerShell remoting is disabled by default, usually on a Windows OS, and I'll need to enable it to perform remote manually. So I'm actually going to run the Windows remote management quick config command to enable the Windows remote management service. So let's actually let's do this here. Let's do that. All right, perfect. Make sure I'm on the. Actually, let me not do that here. Let me do that here. Close that out. All right, so let's go to RD. I'm sorry, WinRM. There it is. How you doing, buddy? Take a look at your properties. So of course we want to do automatic starts, apply, okay. Now we see that it's running and the startup type is automatic. So we're actually going to close this out. And now we can use PowerShell. I was just so thirsty to use PowerShell. Let's see. Perfect. Yes, of course. So the firewall exception is enabled for it's particularly for remote management, right? So it's been officially updated. So just to confirm this, I want to do this here. And of course, it's going to tell me we told you it was good, so stop to leave us alone. But we're going to bother him anyway. Okay, it's going to say it's already set up. Yep, there we go. All right, so now we're going to configure the trusted host. So let's do this here. Actually, that guy here. Yes, of course. Perfect. I love it. So let's actually, now that we take care of that portion, let's actually re-swivel over here. So let's do some searching. Go back here. All right, perfect. And let's see, let's do some PowerShell. Perfect. Pretty same concept. Windows remote management, quick configuration. How you doing? Yes. Perfect. Make these changes, of course. All right. So it's enabled, right? So we're good there. All right. So now let's swivel back over to Win 10. So now for the command prompt, I'm going to type a command now to establish the remote connection with 0.5, which is 801. So let's do, no, let me type. All this time I thought I was typing. The same IP saw me enter in earlier, the initial. Perfect. All right, so you should see, there it is. When we see this, right, the 0.5 or which is really 801, that it precedes the Windows Shell's prompt. That means that the remote connection with 0.5 is established, or with Windows 801 is established, right? So I'm actually going to swivel back over to 801, and I'm actually going to open this up here. And let's take a look at the local disk. And we see the contents here. Let's actually do it in a folder. All right, so we just created a random folder, right? And so aside from creating the folder, you can also perform other tasks, right? When we're remotely connected, like installing a new Windows feature, using the this I forgot, but this DISM, forgot the acronym, but yeah, we can do all types of things when we're remotely connected. So now I've created this folder for sales. I'm going to swivel back over here. So I'm actually going to change directory. It's not going to let me type. Perfect. There we go. All right. So now we're navigating to the root drive for 801. So I'm actually going to make a list. So now it's going to be a list of available files here for the 801C drive. So the files are now shown, and we can see the most recent one is the one created at January 17, 2024 at 10:38 a.m., which is sales, which is the one I've just created. But now we verified that we've connected. So now I'm just going to exit the remote connection with this prompt here. And now we can see it's just a regular command prompt for PowerShell, right, for the local session. So now this brings us to the end of this video. This was so much fun working with remote connectivity. Just for a brief recap of everything we went over, we worked with remote desktop and we administered Windows with PowerShell remoting as well. This was so much fun. Can't wait to get to the next video where we actually go over performing digital forensics. Oh man, that sounds incredible. So I'll see you there. Thank you for watching. Stay curious, stay secure.